Linking the two cards is all right if your databases are all right. And passports have the stamp of the President of India. When that can be forged, every other document can be. It could affect India's claim that it is a democracy. Today, Aadhaar is linked to almost every service. You want to buy a TV, they'll ask you for your Aadhaar number. You want to buy a telephone, they'll ask you for your Aadhaar number. You want to buy anything, they'll ask you for your Aadhaar number. Now, when you have more Aadhaar cards than the population, it means you'll have more voter ID cards than the population. Or someone is being too clever and wants to manipulate the entire system. Hi, this is RN Bhaskar from Bhaskar Ki Business Baatein. I've come to you with one more episode of Business Baatein. I normally talk about policy or a story or a conversation, and this time it's policy. And this time it's a policy story which could have very, very serious repercussions on the constitutional framework of India itself. It could affect India's claim that it is a democracy. But before I go ahead, just a reminder, do click the subscribe button if you haven't done that already. Another request, please click the like button. And the third request, I know I've got lots of requests, but the third request is tell your friends about it. We want more people to hear us on the policy issues that this country should be exercised about. India is a country which has huge potential. Unfortunately, sometimes, either because we're ill-advised, or because we're ignorant, or because we're being manipulative, we have the wrong policies. And we try to tell you that these are the policies that will work. And these are the policies that are fraught with danger and could wreck the country. This podcast is about one such policy, about elections, about democracy, about voter ID cards. Recently, newspapers talked about the election committee approaching the Law Ministry and the Home Ministry to link Aadhaar and election cards. Today, Aadhaar is linked to almost every service. You want to buy a TV, they'll ask you for your Aadhaar number. You want to buy a telephone, they'll ask you for your Aadhaar number. You want to buy anything, they'll ask you for your Aadhaar number. And now they want to link Aadhaar with election cards. Since election cards comes under the purview of the Election Commission, it is the Election Commission which approached the Law Ministry and the Home Ministry to link the two cards. I found that dangerous. Linking the two cards is all right if your databases are all right. If your data is wrong, linking wrong databases will multiply the number of wrong data. You need to first look at data properly, clean up the data, and then allow a linking of cards. So where's the data wrong? Am I saying that the voter ID cards are wrong? Am I saying that Aadhaar cards are wrong? Aadhaar is a great idea. It was implemented badly, I would say rottenly. As a result, you may not believe it, but 9 states in India have more Aadhaar cards than the population in those states. How did that happen? Maybe someone came with a fictitious name and got a new Aadhaar card. Maybe someone created false documents of passport or ration office or electricity bills or whatever. Getting a false document is easy in this country. Even passports are forged. And passports have the stamp of the President of India. When that can be forged, every other document can be. At one time, there's a proposal to link Aadhaar to passports. And the Supreme Court had to hold that law. Now they want to link Aadhaar to election cards, to voter ID cards. Now, when you have more Aadhaar cards than the population, it means you'll have more voter ID cards than the population. Which means that your election will be filled with dummy votes. So why have elections? Just keep a box and tell people to fill the box with whatever paper you want. Why spend that money? Why waste our time? Why waste the government's time? Why waste the machinery? You want elections to be held, first clean up the database of Aadhaar cards. The government doesn't do it. And the sad part is, many of the states, of the 9 states, where you have more election cards, more Aadhaar cards than the population, are all border states, posing a greater security risk for India. So why get the Citizenship Act? First, clean up your own database. Then there's a second problem. We have more Aadhaar cards also because, as the Aadhaar authorities have themselves admitted before the Supreme Court of India and before the Parliament, that it does not have any mechanism to cancel the names of a dead person from the Aadhaar list. When you cannot cancel the dead, it means the dead are still alive in terms of Aadhaar cards. The dead are still alive in terms of voter card if you link it up. So you have dead people coming to vote, you have ghosts coming along. Handle the possibility of cancelling names, especially if a person is dead and the person's name is reported. The Aadhaar authorities say, we still do not have a mechanism to cancel the name when it is reported as death. It's mentioned dead in the books, but Aadhaar does not have a mechanism of cancelling the card. So why link? Take the third case. Even when it comes to deaths, you'll find that almost 12.5% of the dead population in India are not even known to be dead. They're not registered as dead. We assume them to be dead. So people die. Statistically, you know that this man was born 150 years ago. He must be dead, even if he's not shown as dead. So we assume that he's dead. He's not registered as dead. That's 12.5% of India's population. Then there's a second problem. Many of the people who die are reported as dead. I go to the police station and say that so-and-so dead, and the police records that he's died. They find out, they see his body is cremated, so he's registered as dead, but he's not medically certified as dead. So can he be murdered? India is a place where almost 40% of the deaths are not medically certified. So what has the administration been for the last 75 years? Why has this mess not been cleaned up? So effectively, you have dead people who are not reported as dead and are assumed to be dead. The Aadhaar card may still be floating around because we have no mechanism to cancel the names of the dead. And when you look at the states' deaths that are not registered, look at the states. These are the worst states that have not registered deaths. When COVID took place, it shook the entire country. Many states could not manage COVID deaths. There are states where the people who died of COVID were so many that they just took the bodies and threw them into the river. The rivers are full of floating dead bodies. They were not even registered as dead or medically certified as dead. We assumed that they were dead. One newspaper that tried to do a decent job of sending its reporters to every village and finding out how many people had died was immediately raided by the income tax authorities and the enforcement authorities, and cases filed against them so that they stopped reporting such information. And when Lancet and other NGOs decided to conduct a survey of key states where people had died, they found that the total number of deaths reported by the government was around 20% less than the number that actually died. Which again means that your 20% of COVID deaths having Aadhaar cards that are still floating around and alive. In other words, you have the COVID ghosts roaming around with Aadhaar cards and you want to give them voting cards? How stupid can that idea be? The problem gets a little more complicated because when Aadhaar was introduced and pushed aggressively by this government, the finance minister at a public meeting chastised bank managers for not giving new bank accounts to every Aadhaar card holder. In olden days, when I went to open a bank account, in the bank account opening form, there was a line that said, introduced by. And you had two people who had to introduce you. So I went to the bank to open an account. Two people had to introduce me, thus certifying that I was really a genuine person and they knew me. Banks had to follow this. When Aadhaar came, banks are told, don't follow introduction. Anyone who's an Aadhaar card must open a bank account, must get a bank account. So, if 9 states had more Aadhaar cards than the population, you had more bank accounts than the population. You had bogus bank accounts. Many of them may have drawn in entitlements from the government of India, thus increasing the outgo and increasing your tax burden. If that was not enough, the finance minister came with another bright idea and said every account holder must get a PAN number. Suddenly you had more PAN numbers coming up. So now you have bogus Aadhaar numbers, you have bogus bank account numbers, and you have bogus PAN numbers, and now you want bogus voter ID cards as well. Sadly, there was another news announcement saying that the decision has been taken, we are linking Aadhaar with voter ID cards. For me, that's frightening. It's only a matter of time. Someone will go to the court. Someone will challenge. Ideally, if the Election Commission followed norms and logical procedures, it should not have held the 2024 elections till a proper census was held. Because the only way to remove duplicate Aadhaar cards is by having a census, because you go door to door with enumerators which says, okay, you're so-and-so, tick. You're so-and-so, tick. Ask your neighbors whether his name is so-and-so. That is what the enumerator does. They know where the bogus cards come from. We had an election with bogus Aadhaar cards and with dead people's Aadhaar cards and voter cards still floating around. Don't make the mistake again. First have the census, remove the bogus Aadhaar cards, then do the linking. Linking is not a bad thing, but not this way. You need to remove the bogus Aadhaar cards first. And this is where sometimes, either because the government misguided, or because it's ignorant of the fact there are more Aadhaar cards than the population, or someone is being too clever and wants to manipulate the entire system. I do not know which of these three has happened here, but it is time for the system to be corrected. This is a dangerous move. It will have very serious repercussions for India. Well, that brings me to the end of today's discussion. Thank you for being with us. And do remember, subscribe if you haven't subscribed already. Click the like button, it helps us. And most importantly, tell your friends about us. We'd like to grow our numbers because the issues we discuss are very serious, are very relevant, and require lots of policy attention. Thanks for being with us. See you again next week. Have a great week ahead. You'll find us now every morning at 8:15 a.m. on weekdays, where we come out with daily news, or better still, news behind the news. Do watch it.